Hi, everyone. My name is Joy Wang, and as Diane said, I'm the director for the My Solar for All program here at the state. I'm really excited to be joining you all here today, along with my colleague Haley, who is also on the call. So prior to my position here at Eagle, I was actually with the Michigan Public Service Commission, working on electric distribution planning, electric operations, and smart grid issues. And prior to that, I also worked at the State Energy Office, working on a variety of grants. So really happy to be in this position. I'm very excited for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about the program with you all today. So the state of Michigan was awarded $156 million for this program by the federal government. And we applied originally for $250 million and received a smaller amount from the US EPA, which is the funder of this program. And in that application process, the office met with more than 60 stakeholder groups and received more than 40 letters of support. So in the application, we propose to develop residential and community solar serving low income and disadvantaged residents in the hopes of delivering an average of a 20% electricity bill savings. We wanted to maximize the funding available for technical assistance and to use the allowable 12-month planning period. And because we were actually awarded a lesser amount than what we applied for, there was a revision process to our work plan. And we're really happy to report that our revised work plan and budget was accepted by the EPA, and we have our amendment noting that. So what will the program support? Of that $156 million, about 75% of that, or $117 million, will go towards project implementation. So residential rooftop solar, community solar, enabling upgrades, and associated storage. And another 25% will focus on technical assistance. So assistance to our communities, to provide workforce training and development, program and vendor management, and monitoring and compliance. So some programmatic needs there also. So our vision for the My Solar for All program is to maximize the benefits that we can deliver to the low income and disadvantaged households that are participating within this program, and to also maximize the emissions reductions that we can achieve through these investments. So we plan to deeply engage with Michigan households, communities, and organizations to really understand what their needs are, their concerns, and their desires for the program. That input is really going to be helpful for us to design a program that serves Michigan. And I'm really excited to hear your thoughts about the program once we get to that part of the presentation. We really would like to explore transformational models. I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to innovate and create interesting solutions that still fit within the guidelines of the EPA program. And we want to collaborate and partner with others to really maximize the financing and the stacking and braiding of resources to bring more benefit to the participants of our program. And I'm personally very interested in adding reliability and resiliency and improving those for our participants, and hopefully the electrical grid too. I think there's opportunities to design projects that can benefit not only the individual household members, but also the wider electrical grid and community. We want to design a program that provides the flexibility for people to propose innovative ideas, because we certainly don't know everything that's possible right now. The program, it will run for 5 years. We have to spend all of the funding within 5 years. And we definitely want to provide the flexibility so people who have great ideas can still propose those and still receive funding in this program, as long as we're still meeting those EPA program guidelines. And of course, we want to embrace best practices and to learn from others within the state, but also around the country. There's a lot of other Solar for All grantees around the country. So some useful definitions. I think a lot of people are interested in understanding exactly what qualifies as residential solar and community solar in this program. And so for residential solar, it can include rooftop, pole-mounted, and ground-mounted PV systems that deliver all of the power that's generated to residential customers. And they can be in existing or new single-family homes, manufactured homes, or multifamily buildings. And they specifically noted that even if a multifamily building is classified as a commercial building, if the solar benefits the residential customers either directly or indirectly, it would still qualify. And this applies to rented or owned properties. For residential serving community solar, I think this definition is very interesting, and the EPA provided us a lot of flexibility here. So the way the EPA defines it for this program is that it's a solar PV producing facility or a solar energy purchasing program from a facility with up to 5 megawatts nameplate capacity that delivers at least 50% of the power generated from the system, or through either by delivering at least 50% of the benefit derived from that power to residential customers in the same utility territory as the facility. So I think this definition gives us a lot of flexibility, even though the people who benefit from community solar have to be within the same utility territory as that solar facility. The EPA has allowed us to deliver at least 50% of the benefits to those participants, and it would still qualify as community solar within this framework. So I think that gives us a lot of flexibility in how those benefits can be provided. And we've heard of examples from other areas in the nation. For example, in Washington, D.C., there was a women's shelter that placed solar on their facility, and they were allowed to distribute the benefits through gift cards to the residents within the facility. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for innovative ideas. We have proposed and were approved for pilots during 2025. So the way that our program was designed is, we did want to utilize the full planning year. The EPA allowed Solar for All grantees to utilize this first year for planning the program and interacting with interested parties and stakeholders to really get their feedback in designing the program. We originally were planning on using that full year just to talk with folks and plan, but we do have an interest form that's been online for a while. And some of the comments from that interest form really expressed a lot of interest in this opportunity, not only in terms of implementing certain types of projects, but also there was a lot of need that was expressed. Folks that were really interested in having solar on their own home because they were experiencing really high electricity costs. So in response to seeing those comments, we proposed in our last round of revisions that we actually start doing some projects now. And I think it provides us an opportunity to learn about what works. It provides folks the opportunity to propose different types of project ideas that maybe we can include in our program design, or create a program that's flexible enough to include. So I think there's a lot of learning opportunities from us as a program standpoint by implementing pilots this year. And hopefully it also provides an opportunity for, Michigan communities to really start investing, in the solar and getting some projects started. So for residential rooftop solar, we have $1 million for pilot funding in that area. For community solar, we have $6.5 million for pilots. And then enabling upgrades. I didn't provide the definition for this, but these are essentially any upgrades that are needed to support the solar installation. So like in a residential house, that could be maybe some roof repair or some roof work that needs to occur so that that household can actually be a host to the solar. In a community solar application, that might be some electrical infrastructure kind of work that needs to be done to allow that site to actually host the solar. And also funding for associated energy storage. So the associated energy storage bucket is a little smaller than everything else. But in total, it is still a reasonable amount of money for us to kind of explore during this first year. And we really hope that we can design these pilots with input from folks like you and other interested parties around the state. The original plan was to design those pilots in the first quarter of this year. We have had some delays with onboarding our planning consultant, who we had hoped to have at this point in time, but we would still love to do that, design these pilots in as quickly of a time frame as possible, just so that we can get these started and actually have the opportunity to learn from some of these initial pilots, even if it's kind of an administrative learnings or improvements to kind of like our program intake or application process. I think that can still be very informative for the program as we design our program and finalize it with the EPA at the throughout this year and by the end of this year. So we're seeking input from folks like you on, the pilot program structure and the expectations that we should have, perhaps specific end uses to explore for some of these different areas. Like I mentioned before, for residential solar, there's quite a few different areas that we can explore, from rented to owned to manufactured and multifamily, single family. So we only have 1 million there. Like, should we focus on just a specific bucket that's really problematic, or should we just leave it open and allow folks to propose what works for them? And then pilot procedures, such as an application or RFP process. So some of the input we have heard in some just initial conversations with folks is that there's an interest in trying to streamline that process for participants so that it isn't really an onerous process. Hopefully it's one that allows organizations with less employees or capacity to also benefit from this program. So we'd love to hear thoughts on what you all think would be a really effective application process for these pilots, the type of information we collect, or some of the administrative burdens that might be experienced for people who are trying to implement these types of programs in the communities. And then also, we'd love to ensure a diverse range of pilot projects and participants. So if you all have feedback on that in terms of some key areas that we should look at, or ways to prioritize or think about prioritization when we're looking at the different applications and projects, we'd love to hear that too. And I have a few more slides before we open up for discussion. So please keep those in mind. We can always come back to this as at the end. Oops. We are also doing a behind the meter solar and storage study. It's a project with the Great Plains Institute and the Georgia Institute of Technology. And the purpose of the study is to identify the energy bill savings and potential utility cost impacts from a behind the meter solar for varying types of consumers. And this is to try to help us better understand that kind of behind the meter impacts of solar and the savings possible. I think it'll be informative not only for understanding some of the residential program offerings, but also some of our community solar offerings too. So additional project goals will also include analyzing when co-locating energy storage makes economic sense, since we do have some funding for energy storage, when it makes sense for different types of end uses, and then the approximate size of that energy storage that should be installed, that kind of like tipping point for when it does make sense. And then also comparing some of the behind the meter generation with utility scale solar costs. So we're looking for data. I think there's national data out there that the researchers can use for this, but it would really help us to have Michigan specific data to really inform them. We're hoping to do things quickly so that we have this information to help inform us earlier on in the design process. So if anyone is interested in sharing that data, it would be great if you could reach out to those researchers. Rena's email here, if you could reach out and share that information this month, that would be ideal. And they're interested in sample days of hourly electricity use during weekday and weekends for the 4 different seasons, or ideally, if folks have the information and are willing to share 1 year of smart meter data for that facility, just to understand what that energy usage profile is over time. So I'm really excited about this. I think it'll be really interesting, and really hope that we have some Michigan specific data to give the researchers so that it's just better tailored to Michigan and our different types of buildings and energy uses. And before I end, I want to say that we're hiring. So we are hoping to hire 2 additional staff within the Office of Climate and Energy to support this program. We currently have a posting available for our program engineer, and that closes at the end of January, on the 27th of January. And this individual will help us conduct research and analyses to help support successful deployment of this program, and also to help develop, evaluate, and manage some of our program offerings. We will also have another position, hopefully posted soon, for an analyst position. So please keep that in mind. And if you want to, stay in touch with us, whether to get updates on when our job postings are available or just updates on our program, please fill out our My Solar for All interest form. There's the code here that you can scan and provide your email, and we'll add you to the updates that we've been sending out. So thank you all so much for your time.